Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cocktails and Rocktails with me, your most notorious groupie, Alice Rouse, author of this little guy right here. These other little books where you can get that, my funny merchandise, down in that description. So go down, you guys, fiddle about, check it out, use your fingers, get the party started. All right, and talking about getting the party started, I always like to be so thankful for everybody here, truly, you guys really mean the world to me, and I love our conversations. I love all the support we give each other. I love just everything about our family here, and I just want to really say thank you to Sean, who, but I'm going to have another interview soon with a beautiful woman named Mel. Going to be exciting as soon as I have all the links and stuff. I'll put it up in a short, as always. But Sean, badass. Sean is an old friend from working with a band, Dark Angel. And really good guy, stayed friends all these years, ended up living in Seattle at the same time without even knowing we were in Seattle, and probably at some of the same shows, but he's incredibly enthusiastic and supportive and really helps me out and has got me this latest interview. So just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Sean, Pearl, you guys are amazing. I truly, truly am so thankful, not just for my family here, but the family I have with rock and roll. It's just badass. So lucky to have this kind of vibe hanging out. And speaking of hanging out, we're going to talk about something hanging out today because we recently lost someone that I hung out with, John Sykes, co-inventor of what we call the upside down tour bus trick. Yes. You guys, a few of you might have heard this story. This one hasn't gotten a lot of hits. So I kind of wanted to bring it back and, talk about it. And of course, commemorate an incredible musician that we lost. John Sykes was in Whitesnake. He was in Thin Lizzy. Blue Murder, did his own things, his own music and stuff. But really kind of became a bit of a hermit the last decade. And, unfortunately, he was diagnosed with cancer, so that was probably part of it. But he was also, we'll talk about what he was like, really, kind of, as we go along. So, yeah, I'm going to do a little reading from the book. And because we're just going to have a little reading, we're going to kick back, do a little local, our salt flats. These guys are awesome. These guys just make some very solid flavors. They've got IPAs, they've got a couple ales, they've got a nice stout. This one, if you want a nice rich flavor without having the heaviness of a stout, a Scottish ale is your guy. So we're talking about all my guys here. No, we have a few guys, just a couple. Oh, I have a storeroom basement full of lovers on my shelves. All right, everybody, grab your kilted Harleys, kick up your feet, and let's have a little cocktails and rocktails. Oh, ooh! Cheers, big ears. This is an easy go-to for me. I mean, it's a nice high percentage, which I do like a higher percentage beer. It's about a 9%, has that nice kind of rich Scottish ale flavor, that kind of nice little kick to it, but not heavy like a stout. It's absolutely delicious. Love it. If you don't find, salt flats in your area, find a Scottish ale. Absolutely delicious. And speaking of absolutely delicious, I mean, look at the man. Absolutely gorgeous. Perfect, that blonde lead singer, perfect nose, perfect face, perfect eyes, nice body. Kind of a bit of a jerk. Kind of a bit heretic in his last years, but selfish and kind of a jerk, really, when you think about it. But okay, so I'm going to do a quick little reading about this. Because when I met John Sykes, he was with Blue Murder. Who was like Carmine Appice, a guy named Tony was the singer, John Sykes. Now, Carmine Appice was around when the Mud Shark Led Zeppelin incident happened. Yep. He's Vinny Appice's brother, who I used to know Vinny. I knew Vinny. I guess I knew a couple Vinnies in my life. Both drummers, what do you know? But we know the only Vinny that matters in my life. But okay, so this is, what year is this? Fuck, I don't even know what year. I think this is 1988. I know I had just moved out of my, 1989. I was just, out on my own for the first time. Danny and I were in our apartment. We were free, just sort of working whatever jobs, had money saved up, whatever, just kind of living our first free girl summer, It was awesome. I was probably, when was this? This is October. I just turned 19, had just met John Entwistle of The Who a few months earlier. 1989 was a really good year. Kind of like 88, May of 88. Couldn't walk after that. Couldn't walk after 89 either. Okay, so this is October. As October meandered along into an Indian summer, so did another band into Salt Lake City a few days later. Because I think we were hanging out with Testament right before this. Because, like, in those days in the 80s, I mean, there was literally a concert every other day. I mean, especially in the summer up until, mid-January, which is really concert season. So starting May to probably about January, you got a lot of fucking shows. So we were busy. We were busies. All right. So as October meandered along into an Indian summer, so did another band into Salt Lake a few days later. Billy Squier was coming to town and bringing a new rock outfit, Blue Murder, along with him. The lead singer, John Sykes, was John Sykes, and he was prettier than any man I had had so far. And English to boot, because we know how I love the English boys. My still teenaged hormones, I was 19 at the time. My still teenaged hormones beamed me into the gig, just like a mothership to an alien. Danny and I parked the car and walked right up to the buses. Score! There he was, blonde, white shirt. Okay, think of that typical kind of 80s, very much, what's the romance cover with the blonde hair, the billowy shirt, the kind of light blue jeans. That was John at this moment in time. So predictable. Okay. White shirt, locks flowing in the light breeze, guitar strapped to his body as if that was just what he looked like all the time. John saw us as we approached. He wandered around us as we talked to Billy's drummer at the time, Mike. The guitar he wore, giving off a slight strumming in the background. Almost like a minstrel, like the old-fashioned, romance, and they follow you with the guitar, and he was really playing the part. I'm not even going to lie. It wasn't that he just, I'm sure he loved guitar, he loved playing, he was incredible at it, but you are sitting in a parking lot before sound check, and you just happen to have an acoustic guitar hanging around on the bus. Yeah, he was playing the part 100%. Because he looked the part. Everything about him was the part. He was talented. He was blonde. He was blue-eyed. He was English. He had his little billowy white shirt and his guitar. And it was just like, all right, Fabio. If you know who Fabio is, you know what I'm talking about. All right. He wandered about us as we talked to Billy's drummer, the guitar he wore giving off a slight strumming in the background. Soon enough, he was going right for me. John wandered right up and sang some sonnety song to me. I blushed and found it quite cheesy, if not charming. Because, yeah, let's face it, who's going to look at John Sykes, a beautiful man with his guitar, wandering right up to you and go, no, thank you. I was like, yes, thank you. And I knew, he was a no bullshit kind of guy. If he wanted you, he wanted you. He was coming for you. But we'll talk about that no bullshit kind of very curt English ways, I should say. Okay. Who doesn't want a hot, blonde English singer serenading them? All of us do. I sure as hell did, and followed John and his guitar like he was the Pied Piper back to the bus when he beckoned. We sat around with the drummer of Blue Murder, Carmine Appice, who was pretty much owning Danny since they had matching jackets on. They did. They totally had the exact same patent leather jacket on from the exact same store. It was a woman's store, by the way. it was Contempo 21 where she got the patent leather jacket and Carmine had the exact same one on. So there was a bit of bonding going on, although those jackets would probably end up on the floor of the tour bus later. It's not a fun day if they don't, right? Okay. Mike and some others as well all bantered on and did the usual day drinking. So it was like on the bus, I remember it was Mike, it was a couple roadies. I think Tony was on there, Carmine Appice, Danny, me. Yeah. So it was kind of a nice little afternoon tea party. And what can I say? It was all rock and roll. There are no imposed happy hours, and drinks begin to be passed around happened the second the groupies did, no matter what time of day. And after a while, it was time to follow John into the back lounge, where, unbeknownst to me, history was about to be made. Well, at least my new signature move at least a new signature move for me would be invented anyway, because this really did, like, it became like this picture right here. This was years and years later when I was, and sorry it's cracked, during the earthquake we had a few years ago. I still have so many pictures I need to get fixed from that. But so this is on Tim McGraw's bus when I'm doing it years later, and I was like 25 at the time. I was 19 when this was invented. So 6 years later, signature move, although it was rare that I performed it like I did with John. Because you're going to find out how I performed it with John. Yes. Okay. As John and I went out each other, clothes coming off, we tried to find the right positions in that small little square we called the back lounge. We just couldn't get into the proper 69 that John wanted. So John, being the master of sexual invention, apparently looked towards the ceiling and saw the escape hatch to find our answer. Well, if you could hang from there, then I could stand here and we could do each other at the same time. We should try it, he said, hopefully, as he looked at me with that sweet little smile of his. Who could say no to that little face? Not me. And I couldn't say no to a challenge. I mean, fuck yeah. Okay, dude. I'm going to do something that you will not forget because nobody else had done this before, I don't think. And I know nobody really knows this can do it anymore because there's not the same escape hatch just on the tour buses anymore. So sorry, ladies, don't steal my upside down tour bus trick. Okay, so he was just like, yeah, you hang upside down, your face is gonna be perfect, or my hoo-ha will be perfect level with his chompers, and his beef stick will be perfect for my manhole. I don't know why I said that. I was so wrong. Okay, I looked at him with my sinister eyes. Persuaded. I jumped up as John popped open the escape hatch that used to exist in the old tour buses and pulled myself up, putting my legs out the top and ending up with my face at the perfect height and angle. Because that's important. Wow! This was a whole new way of satisfaction. We were having some fun here, for sure. For about 5 minutes, since the blood does rush to your head and that's all about I could take before I passed out. John helped me flip back on top of him, and we finished our soiree the way the back lounge meant for us to, with me on top. But from that 5 minutes, we had become a sight to be seen unbeknownst to either of us, and a signature move was now born, one that would be alluded to on many occasions but rarely fully performed. As John led me by the hand back to the front of the bus for some afterglow drinks, we began to hear a clapping sound that was not coming from the old school TV rigged up to an antenna in the front. Everyone who had been in the front lounge before had been beckoned outside by Mike on his way back from his bus, because Mike was the drummer of Billy Squire. He wasn't quite sure what he was seeing and just needed everyone else's opinion on the matter. For as he was innocently strolling by, Mike noticed these legs and feet dangling out of the top of the bus, because John had also grabbed, to steady himself while he was doing myself. So all they saw was my calves and my feet, and then John's hands. So that is all that Mike sees out of the top of the tour bus. What in the world was going on, he thought. The crowd grew as John and I dangled in our passion, unknowing we were the center of an investigation. And just as quick as they appeared, the limbs and digits were gone. Everyone looked in amazement to the other as they piled back onto the tour bus and waited for the explanation. Except for Danny. Danny and I's antics were fucking legendary. So Danny was just like, huh. She figured out a new way to do things, I guess. Because they are small. They are really, really small. All right. We couldn't explain at the spur of the moment, so John and I half demonstrated my newfound talent for the others in the front lounge, although with our clothes on. It was a hit, and John would enjoy it at least once more before he left the sacred groupie town. It was also time to go back into the fairgrounds arena, where the show would be taking place. As we did, we passed the groupie that I had taken Scott Dwayne Dalhover from. Jennifer and I love you, Jennifer. I'm sorry I didn't get the Christmas cards. I got a wonderful Christmas card from you, Jennifer, and I really appreciate it. I'd gotten none of mine out, so you'll get a Valentine's Day card from me. All right. Jennifer and I got along just fine and hung out sometimes when we were all on the same bus. But today, she was still a little bit bitter about the whole Scott thing. She needed to get over it because that's what she was saying the whole day. Like, oh my God, she stole Scott. I didn't steal Scott Dalhover from you. But okay, and that is what Billy's drummer Mike said to her after she complained again and again that I stole Scott from her. And she was half joking, but at the same time, it's like, drop it. I didn't steal anything. He went where he wanted and was welcomed, and would be again soon enough. Because about a month later, I boarded a plane to LA to spend New Year's Eve with Dangerous Toys. Which I still got to say, you have a real funny way of spelling Salt Lake City every time you post stuff with your band. We need to have a lesson again. But you have to get your ass to Salt Lake City to do it, motherfucker. So, but there's my story with John. And John kind of pulled some shit with me a little bit later in the night after the show. Because we had been doing our thing, and then after we had done another upside down tour bus trick on the bus, we all come out and he's got his guitar again and he's playing it. I'm like, oh no. Here he goes. So he saw these other two blonde girls, which blonde girls are the furthest thing. And we'll get into this in a minute because I'm going to tell another story that is not my story, but it's someone else's story. That will kind of show you what kind of person John really is. But so John saw these two kind of more innocent blonde looking girls, typical 80s, mini skirts, stuff like that. So he started strumming that guitar and off he went. Okay, so he started flirting with those girls, and we had about a couple hours before they were gonna be heading out because they were leaving that night. And usually pull out time, in so many ways, is around 2 a.m. So you got to be pulled out of your groupie by 2 a.m. when that bus pulls out of town. It's pull out time. So yeah, so he started talking to them, and of course the girls were all flattered and stuff like that. And he starts to walk with them on the bus, and I'm standing there with Mike, and the guitar players had an anxiety attack on stage. Billy's hanging around, we're talking, just goofing off. We are just having a really good time, just everybody having a little parking lot powwow afterwards. So like I said, here goes John with his guitar, strumming up the seduction again, and these two girls giggle and they're like they go onto the bus with him, and I turn and he looks at me, he goes like this, and I was like, I look, and the girls looked at me, they go, don't you wish you were me? I'm like, no, I was you twice today, and tell me how I taste by the end of the night. They just stopped and were like, and John was all pissed too. Like, bitch, I got what I wanted twice, 3 times really, and so did you. But that's kind of the person he was. He was very self-centered, very degrading to women. They were very much subservient to him, even the women at home that he had off the road. So another girl that I used to know who is a pretty girl, big smile, gorgeous long hair, great tits, right? Dark hair, beautiful, East Coast girl. She was hanging out with John wanted John for years and years and years, right? Finally gets to him. They have a good night. She's flirting with him in a rare, because she doesn't know how to flirt very well. She's very negative. She brings a lot of negative energy. Cy and I almost had a fight, almost had a complete ending of our friendship because she was around and shit was flying. And I mean, there was a lot of shit going on. But anyway, so she's finally hanging out with John, enjoying his company. They're having a good time. He gets flirty with her. They go back to the hotel. He kisses her. They're making out on the bus. She's all excited, as you do when you kiss that person that you want and you're so attracted to, and they go back to the hotel in New York and they're walking across the hotel lobby. Their arms are linked. It is obvious they're walking in together. And all of a sudden, he just sees this beautiful Nubian, gorgeous woman walk by, which is exactly 100% his type. And this has nothing to do with the women. This is just about, or anything to do with the women. This is just John. Everybody has their type. English rock stars for breakfast, obviously. This girl likes blonde English lead singer type. So he sees her and John is just mesmerized. Doesn't know this woman at all. Does not know this woman. Just looks and is mesmerized and tells this girl that I'll be right back. Goes over and talks to the beautiful woman, the other beautiful woman, and stops and next thing you know, there he goes. He's getting in a cab with her and leaving without a fucking word to this other girl that he was with all night, hanging out with. So that's kind of John, though. He's very dismissive. He was very controlling. He was very much, with his band members, keeping him on the line, supposedly going to be coming out with a new album that unfortunately he never finished. I would have loved to have heard something new from him because, like I said, he is incredibly talented. He knows how to make a guitar just sort of, it's not slink, but smoothly slink into the groove. You know what I mean? So absolutely talented human being as far as guitar playing, singing, all that stuff goes. Total fucking asshole when it comes to women. So I'm going to tell you how it is here. I don't, hide a lot of things. I don't do a lot of ass kissing to people. I just say my experience straight out. And I know this other girl's experience. And I know a couple other girls' experience with him. Kind of the same thing. Once he's done, he's had your fun. Okay, he moves on. And I get it because I'm kind of like that. But at least if I'm going to be moving on to another guy that day, I take shower. Because, I can't judge anybody for it because we all know about me hanging out with Def Leppard when I was with a couple of guys from Tesla and then went back upstairs and showered with Rick Savage because I was really actually with Rick Savage. But I wanted the guys from Tesla too, Frank and Tommy, and I think someone else was there for about 5 seconds. So yeah, I get it, but at the same time, at least at least say, hey, I know this person, make up a lie and say, I'm going to go with her. I'm sorry. I'll see you next time I'm in town. But no, that was John. He just had no regard for anything around him because, sometimes people just are never made to have that. They're just handed everything on a silver platter. And I handed him a silver platter, but you know what? I came out with something pretty fucking awesome with it. And it was a great icebreaker. It was the perfect thing to do. Oh, you want to see my upside down tour bus trick? Well, yes, ma'am. And the first thing when you're on the tour bus, when you get upside down like that, of course the guy you're with is going to be like, hey, this is perfect. I'm like, why do you think it was invented? So, I got me a hot blonde notch on my bedpost. John got off, co-invented the upside down tour bus trick, and then got ditched by those other two girls because they figured out that, I guess, when you say tell me how I taste, that pretty much says it all. So I'm going to leave you with that. Good times. All right, you guys. And thank you to everybody who got to the end of the episode with me. As always, you guys rock. You're so amazing. And it really flatters me and just amazes me that anybody wants to listen to what I have to say. So thank you so, so much. Truly, truly appreciate it, you guys. And if you've had an experience with John Sykes or something like John Sykes, tell me in the comments. Let's have a talk about it. Because, being a groupie, every experience is not going to be perfect. Like we all know with Bret Michaels, tap, 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 excuse me, sir. I'm moving on. Going back to David Lee Roth. Or John Sykes, who was the worst rock sex I've ever had, because just once we got in sheets, it was just like, oh my God, it lasted one song, and it was Love Hurts. And I swear to God, Love Hurts it was the longest. That song's, I think it was 45 fucking years long. So we all have our moments in rock and roll. Everything's not going to be perfect. Things are going to happen. It's how you handle it. I didn't throw a fit or cry or feel worthless or useless or anything like that. I was just smart ass bitch that I am. Did it hurt the other girl that I used to know when that happened to her in New York? Yeah. And she had every right to be pissed about it. And she never had a chance to say, fuck you, dude. That was not cool. To put him in his place, because he had escaped anybody doing that his whole life. People just catered to him. And it's like, us 80s ladies, the only thing we cater to is our sexual prowess. No, I'm kidding. But so there you guys go. And for everybody that's just joining us and just figuring out this channel, and welcome you guys. I hope you have fun with this. I hope you really kind of enjoy something that's not your typical AI, horribly researched, badly presented bullshit. I'm real. My stories are real. My opinion's real. And actually from someone who was part of the world. So welcome aboard, you guys. Please feel free to join the comments, to join the conversations, be part of the family. We love it here. And even if you're not just hanging around, you guys, I love you too. The fact that you're just enjoying me just really, really does. It just brings my heart so much joy and makes everything I went through to get this book out, to start this YouTube channel. You guys really, truly make it worth it. So thank you. So, and like I said, for those of you just hanging out, hit the subscribe, hit the share. Let's get me up to 10,000. We're at 2,200. So let's get to 10,000, you guys. Let's grow the family, because we need a channel that's not full of bullshit or lies or just daily crap that we want to get away from. That's what we're doing here. We're escaping. That's rock and roll. That's the whole rock and roll show, people. So, all right, hit the bell, hit the share, hit the bells, hit the subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Cocktails and Rocktails. Cheers, big ears.